Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video lecture, we are going to answer questions from point of safe return, point of equal time in Keith Williams General Navigation book. So let's start. 111. Distance between A and B is given. Ground speed out, ground speed home is given. Safe endurance given. What is the time from A to the point of safe return? Now distance to the point of safe return is endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So what is endurance? 10.5, outbound speed 120, homebound speed 180, divided by 120 plus 180. So 120 plus 180 is 300. 10.5 into 120 into 180 is 226, 800. That is equal to 756 nautical miles. So what is the time to PSR? Time to PSR will be distance to PSR divided by outbound speed. So 756 divided by 120, 6 hours 18 minutes into 60, 378 minutes. Okay, so option A is the right one. 112. What is the distance to the point of safe endurance? If aircraft has a task of 350, endurance 10 hours if wind on the outbound leg is 50 knots headwind. So here is your point A, here is your point B, this is your point of safe return, here is your aircraft, and here is your aircraft at point of safe return. Task is equal to 350 knots, task 350 knots. Headwind component is 50 knots headwind. So this is minus 50, this is plus 50. So what will be your ground speed on the outbound leg? Ground speed on the outbound leg will be 300 knots. Ground speed on the homebound leg will be 400 knots. Okay, so headwind on the outbound leg will directly become a tailwind on the inbound leg or homebound leg. So distance to the point of safe endurance is equal to endurance into outbound divided by this. So what is endurance here? 10 hours, outbound 300, homebound 400 divided by 300 plus 400. Distance to point of safe return divided by 700 equals to 1714. Okay, 1714 nautical miles. So option Bravo is the right answer. Distance given, outbound speed, homebound speed, endurance given. What is the time from A to the point of safe return? First, distance to the point of safe return is endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So endurance is 8.5, outbound speed is divided by 190 plus 180. 190 plus 180 is 370. 8.5 into 190 into 180 is 290700. Divided by 370 is 785.6 or 786 nautical miles. So distance to PSR is equal to 786 divided by 190 is equal to 4 hours 8 minutes which is equal to 248 minutes. Option alpha. 114. What is the time to the point of safe endurance if task is 300, endurance 7 hours, wind on the outbound leg is 65 knots headwind? So point A, point B, this is your point of no return. Here is your aircraft. So 65 knots headwind. On the outbound leg, it will be at 65 knots tailwind on the homebound leg. TAS is 300. What is the outbound ground speed? It is 300 minus 65, 235. What is homebound ground speed? 300 plus 65, 365. Okay. So distance to point of safe return equals to endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So endurance is 7 hours to 365. So 600425. So 1000 nautical miles. Okay. So the correct answer here will be time distance to PSR 1000 nautical miles divided by ground speed outbound 235, which is equal to 4 hours 15 minutes. Okay, 4.2. So correct answer is 4.2. So option Bravo. Next, 115. What is the time to the point of safe return? So distance to the point of safe return is endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So 6.5 into 120 into 130 equals to 120 plus 130. So 120 plus 130 is 250. In the numerator we have 6.5 into 120 into 130, 101400. That is 406 nautical miles. Time to point of safe return is distance to point of safe return divided by outbound speed. Outbound speed is 120. So 3 hours 22 minutes into 60, that is 203 minutes. So option alpha. What is the distance to the point of safe return if aircraft has a TAS of 300, endurance 10 hours, if wind component on the outbound leg is 50 knots, tailwind? Okay, so now we have a 50 knots tailwind on the outbound leg. So true airspeed 300, true airspeed 300. What will be the ground speed outbound? 300 plus 50 because it's a tailwind 350. Homebound will be 300 minus 50, so 250. When coming back to your departure, you will be faced with a 50 knots headwind. What will be your distance to point of no return? Endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So 10 hours into 350 into 250 divided by 350 plus 250. So 350 plus 250 is 600. Numerator 10 into 350 into 250 is 875,000, which is 1458 nautical miles. Okay, so option Charlie. Next, 117. What is the time to the point of safe return? The distance to the point of safe return is endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So what is endurance? 8.5. What is outbound speed? 220, 250, 220 plus 250. So 467,500. So distance to PSR will be 995 nautical miles. Time to PSR will be distance to PSR divided by outbound speed. So 995 divided by outbound speed of 220, which will be 4 hours 31 minutes or 271 minutes. So option Charlie. 8. What is the time to the point of safe endurance? If task is 100, endurance is 5 hours, winds on the outbound leg is 20 knots headwind. So A, B, this is your point of no return. Here is your aircraft on the outbound leg. Here is another aircraft on the homebound leg. Task is 100 and 20 knots headwind on the outbound leg. So 20 on the outbound leg, a tailwind of plus 20 on the homebound leg. So ground speed outbound will be 80 knots. Ground speed homebound will be 120 knots. So distance to point of safe return will be endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So what is endurance? 5 hours. 5 into 80 into 120 divided by 80 plus 120. So 200 is equal to 48,000. So that is 240 knots. Or correction, 240 nautical miles. So time to point of safe return is distance to point of safe return divided by outbound speed. So 240 divided by 80 to 60, that is 180 minutes. So option alpha 3 hours. Okay. Next 119. What is the time to the point of safe return? So distance to the point of safe return is endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. So what is endurance here? 5.5 into 95 into 110 divided by 95 plus 110. So distance to point of safe return 95 plus 110, 205. 5.5 into 95 into 110, 57,475. That is equal to 280 nautical miles. Time to PSR. It's distance to PSR divided by outbound speed. So 280 divided by outbound speed of 95, that is 2 hours 57 minutes or 177 minutes. So option alpha. 120. Uh, task is 200. Endurance is 10 hours. Wind on the outbound leg is 15 knots headwind. So A, B, this is your point of safe return. 15 knots headwind on the outbound leg. Okay. So what is the TAS? TAS is 200. Okay. TAS is 200. So what will be the outbound ground speed? 200 minus 15, that is 185, and homebound ground speed will be 200 plus tailwind, that is 215. So the distance to the point of safe return will be endurance into outbound into homebound divided by outbound plus homebound. Endurance is 10 hours into 185 into 215 divided by 185 plus 215, which is equal to 400 in the denominator. Numerator we have 10 into 185 into 215, 397,750, which is equal to 994 nautical miles. So option alpha. So this concludes the lecture. I hope you have understood all the 10 questions I have answered in this lecture. If you have any questions, feedback, let me know in the comment box. Thank you for your time. Best of luck.